You're listening to the Blue Raider Podcast, your number one resource for all the latest news, updates, and game recaps from Middle Tennessee athletics. Join us every Tuesday for our weekly interviews with players, coaches, and local media personalities alike. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe on all our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Twitter, and TikTok at Blue Raider Pod. If you're currently listening on your favorite streaming service, we also offer a visual presentation on YouTube at Blue Raider Podcast. Lastly, I'd love to hear your feedback, so don't forget to subscribe to GoMiddle.com to discuss this week's episodes along with the latest news and updates around Middle Tennessee. Welcome back into the Blue Raider Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Bolden, and today is Tuesday, May 14th, and I want to welcome all the Blue Raider faithful for joining me in on my last episode here of the spring season. That is unfortunately the truth, folks. We are rolling into the summer now, so that'll be it for a lot of our content. But don't be alarmed. We're not going away completely for the summer. Just our recording schedule is going to change up just slightly as we roll through the summer months again, with fewer games being played, less content to actually be able to talk about in regards to the athletic events. We'll just roll back our recording schedule to every other week. So our release today on the 14th, and then your next release won't be for 2 weeks until the 28th. So don't be alarmed. We still have plenty of content for you guys. The main objective over the summer is going to be talking with players and coaches. I know that those are kind of more interviews that might intrigue some of you to kind of learn a little bit more about your Blue Raider players that you get to see every night. So I think that that's something that has really interested me. One of the main reasons I kind of wanted to do a podcast setting like this is most of us don't ever get to hear from these players. I think it's a kind of a cool thing that I want to introduce to you guys over the summer. Again, as the games slow down for us, that you guys can kind of see some behind the scenes with some of these players, see what life is like for them, get to know them, kind of get a little bit more intimate. I think it's important, especially we have a unique opportunity at a school like MTSU where you get to meet these players more on a one-to-one basis. They're less of a smoke and mirrors, less behind a paywall, if you will, for some of these larger universities. So I think it's unique, and I'm excited to bring that to you Blue Raider fans everywhere. But before we wrap up everything, let's go ahead and we'll do a rundown of everything that happened this last week. It was still an eventful week across the board for all MTSU. The main thing is in regards to spring sports is baseball. Baseball had a big weekend road matchup with Jacksonville State. They were able to win the series. It all came down to a Sunday rubber match where they defeated the Gamecocks 3-2. Trace Phillips, big outing from him, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, held the Gamecocks to just a single run. It got a little dicey there in the end in the 8th inning, but Coach Myers called on Colin Kerrigan. He comes in, gets a it's a one-batter double play in the bottom of the 8th inning, a bases-loaded jam, so it was a huge double play in that moment. They didn't get any insurance runs in the top of the 9th as they may have needed, but they didn't need any. They were able to pitch their way around in the 9th and pick up that series win. So the big thing about that with the Raiders, if you've missed our episode last week, they have to finish in the top 8 in order to make the conference tournament, and with the win on Sunday against Jacksonville State, that puts them in the 8 seed spot with a tiebreaker over Jacksonville State. There is only one scenario in which the Raiders still don't make the conference tournament, is that they get swept this upcoming weekend against Dallas Baptist, and Jacksonville State will have to sweep Sam Houston State on the road there in Huntsville, Texas. So still not set in stone, but the Raiders do control their own destiny. If you win just one game against Dallas Baptist, you secure it. And if you aren't able to do that, which is possible, Dallas Baptist is a top 3 team in this conference. They should be battling for the top seed this weekend with Louisiana Tech. But in the event that you don't get a game from Dallas Baptist, if Sam Houston wins just one against Jacksonville State, you will also be locked into the 8 seed. So there's another scenario where you could slide up into the 7 seed with a sweep of Dallas Baptist, and then Jacksonville State sweeps Sam Houston State, but I would call that one very, very low chance of even happening, so I wouldn't even worry about that scenario. But the Raiders, as of now, are in good position to get in. Just win one game and you're in. They do have a midweek matchup, their last non-conference, on the road tonight in Southern Indiana. That first pitch is at 6 p.m., and as I've already said, this weekend they will wrap up their season in a conference series with first place or tied first place Dallas Baptist. One note to change on the schedule there is that series will begin on Thursday as opposed to what we're accustomed to on Friday. So on Thursday, the Raiders' first pitch will be at 6, And then on Friday, their first pitch will be at 3. And then on Saturday, the first pitch is at 1 p.m. All those games will be on ESPN Plus. And it's my understanding that on Saturday, they're going to do a dedication for Coach Peterson. So a really cool thing there, not only to honor your seniors, but also to see that presentation there for Coach, long-tenured Coach Peterson. And then, like I said, I won't be here for 2 weeks, so the conference tournament will be next week, beginning on Wednesday there in Ruston, Louisiana, at Louisiana Tech University, and that whole tournament will be on display on ESPN+. Men's basketball had a big weekend, as we saw with the returning of two very familiar faces. The biggest name I think we're all really excited to hear about is Justin Porter, making his return back to Murphy Center. Huge news for a lot of reasons. One thing that I had mentioned when I was doing my breakdown earlier in the month when we were going through the transfer portal pickups was that you're kind of lacking that proven score from a season ago. As of now on roster, you've got two guys that have scored double digits. You got Counter, Oglesby. Oglesby is more than likely going to be a starter. So where do you find some other scoring production or proven scoring production? I think Mustafa is a great option, but there's none better and more proven that's going to return this next year than Justin Porter. Huge news. I can't stress enough how big I think that this is. I did allude to it, but I think that this is just a huge thing for the Raiders going forward. He averaged 14 points last year. Shooting numbers aren't great for a guard at 40%, but he did shoot 34% from three, so it's still a respectable number. His role will change once again. The thing that changed significantly for him, as we've all talked about ad nauseum, is that Cameron Weston goes down. Justin Porter takes the reign at point guards. Well, now that Weston's healthy again, you've got Weston, a pretty reliable backup in Jalen Counter. You might even have someone like Trey Green take those reins as well. But now that he's going to be the guard that you want him to be, that he was recruited to be at a junior college, you have to imagine that Porter's game can just go to another level this next year, being back in a more comfortable position, being able to catch off the bounce, those kind of things, shoot off the bounce, I should say. So a lot of things that you should be excited about Porter. The other name that we saw returning back to Murphy Center is Christian Fussell. Christian comes back after just a one-year hiatus at UT Martin. Didn't get very many minutes at Martin. Is just 10 minutes a game, 2 points per game, 2 rebounds a game. So didn't get nearly the playing time that I think he probably thought that he deserved. But one thing I like about Fussell a lot, not only is he's 6'10", and that's something that those that have been listening on the Go Middle forums is my discussion on the need for height. I think we have good scorers. We're very athletic all across the floor, but I think height is an area that we could definitely be improving in, and Fussell adds that at 6'10". Another thing that's kind of interesting about Fussell and maybe his role, I don't think that he's a guy, he's certainly going to be a depth piece. I wouldn't be concerned about him taking over a starting role or anything like that, but he's definitely a depth piece. But something that I think is very intriguing about him was his contributions in the 26-win season the Raiders had back in 21-22 season. He played in all 37 games there. Didn't make any starts, but he started in all 37 games, averaged 13 minutes a game, 3 points per game, 3 rebounds per game. So he got quite a bit of minutes there, backing up DeAndre Dishman down on the 5 spot. So I don't know where his role fits. Obviously, this is a much different team makeup than what we saw back in 21 and 22, but I think that there's still room for him to be a major part of this team. Again, it's certainly going to be a depth piece. I would assume Mustafa is the one, and then you've got Loof there behind him. But if someone's in foul trouble, if you need to add length at the 4 and 5, Fussell's a guy that you could probably throw in there for a few minutes to at least get you by if someone were to be in foul trouble, or like I said, maybe even lengthen the floor. But not really a scorer, but he adds a lot of length down low. So I think it's a good depth add. And again, back to picking up Porter as well. It's got to be a level of comfort with these guys. You're coming back to a program it's a system you understand. So there's a level of comfort that you wouldn't be able to get with anyone in the portal. And at this late in the season, that is the transfer portal season, there's very few guys that are just going to blow your team out of the water in regards to taking them to the next level. So at what point do you start to sacrifice going to get just somebody over someone who at least has some familiarity with the process, with the system, with the coaching staff? And of course, some of these players were still here when Fussell was here, as well as obviously Justin was here just a season ago. So I think that's huge news for the men's basketball team. Should be really excited to see what those guys are able to do. And again, applaud to Nick McDevitt. he answered the call when it comes time to picking up players this coming up season. A lot of people were down on the roster makeup and what he could potentially return this upcoming season, but I think he answered the call. He's got a great roster. I think that, as I said, with Porter added, this team becomes a Conference USA contender once again. Western Kentucky didn't see the fall off in their roster breakdown like we might have thought they would with Steve Lutz moving on to a Power 5 school, because they retain everybody, especially Don McHenry's another guy that I thought for sure would go with Coach Lutz, but they call up an assistant coach and they keep their whole roster. So applaud to them for being able to retain that conference championship team. So they're definitely going to be a tough test, but I think on paper right now you've got Western at the 1 and this team right here, depending on how the chemistry goes this first summer and those first non-conference games, you might be looking at the second best team in Conference USA, if not the first. So time will tell. But one thing that does get me really excited is where this 100 Miles of Hate game turns up to this next season, now that our roster has kind of been revamped to kind of match more of a competitive style Conference USA team. And then obviously you're going to face a more veteran laden Hilltopper team that just came off a conference championship. Lady Raiders, they also welcome back a familiar face. This lady doesn't need any introduction from me for those that have watched tons of MTSU basketball, but Courtney Blakely, huge news for the Lady Raiders. I think that everyone knew that we were looking for a point guard in the transfer portal. Sam and I spoke about it last week, that he said that Matt Insel had alluded to it on a radio show last week at WGNS, that he had a senior point guard, and Courtney is the girl that they were able to find and pick up. And she entered the portal at the 12th hour out of Arizona. I always thought that she had potentially had an eye to come back to MTSU now that the point guard position has kind of opened up. I think prior to the signing, you thought Jada Harrison, the redshirt freshman coming off of her foot injury, would make the start at point guard, but with Blakely now on roster, I'd have to imagine it's her spot at the 1 and it'd be hers to lose. And that's not to say that Jada won't get the playing time. Her time will definitely come. She's a very talented ball player, a 4-star athlete. So excited to see what she's capable of doing, but I don't want to take anything away from Courtney Blakely. I think this is something that a lot of Raider fans are very excited about, because we were very disappointed to see her move on. Her last season here, she made 10 starts, averaged nearly 7 points a game, and had a positive assist to turnover ratio at nearly 3 assists per game. She obviously gets a great amount of steals given her speed. We know what she's capable of doing in transition. I'm super excited about bringing her back and to see what she can be a real catalyst for this team again, because of the fact that the familiarity aspect is there. She's going to provide a level of comfort not only within the system, but she knows how MTSU plays. She plays hard defense. She's going to rebound even at the guard position. She's going to push the pace, something that we saw a ton with Savannah Wheeler. So I don't think that the offense is even going to skip a beat now that Courtney Blakely is back. And again, I think that there's a lot of reason to be excited about her for a number of reasons. But I think one thing is that I think she's missed not only by the fans, but I think a lot of her teammates showed that on social media this last week, that they're very excited about Courtney's return, and rightfully so. And I still, my tune has not changed. I think this is going to be one of the most talented teams Rick Insel's ever had in his 20 years here. So I'm really excited to at some point interview a coach and get his feedback on where this team stands right now, because it's talented top to bottom. They're going to obviously be pushing Conference USA to another level just as themselves, but I'd love to see what the non-conference schedule is going to shape up to really put this team to that next level, get those RPI, those net numbers up, and hopefully get you in that top 16 where you can host an NCAA tournament. That would be spectacular to host a tournament here at Murphy Center. So exciting times. Courtney Blakely, glad she's back, and really excited as I've been all spring about the Lady Raiders and what they have to bring to the table. The outdoor track and field, they just had their Conference USA championships this last weekend in El Paso. We have a lot of medal finishings. Stephen Alogi, he broke the Conference USA record in the 110 meter hurdles at 13.28 seconds. That was just one of his 2 gold medals. He won another gold medal in the 400-meter hurdles, which sounds absolutely brutal, but big congratulations to Steven on those 2 gold medals. And then the 3K steeplechase team actually swept the podium there in El Paso. Carmelo Canizaro placed first, gold medal. Brian Kiptu was second, and then Vincent Yegon was the 3rd place finisher. So good sweep for the men. With those 5 gold medals there, that was enough to put them into 4th place overall for the men's side of Conference USA. And the Lady Raiders, they also got 3 gold medals. On the ladies' side, you got Lakeisha Smith, who placed first in the long jump, Victoria Rosnikova, who placed first in the triple jump, and then Odelia Jepchumba, who placed first in the 1,500 meter. The ladies also had enough points to finish them in 4th place in Conference USA. So good season for them. I know we'll probably have some that would compete in the Nationals. I'm not sure the qualifications for those, but obviously keep your eyes peeled for those announcements as they come through, and then they'll be covered on our next episode there on the 28th. So congratulations to the outdoor track and field team to a successful year, and to those that were able to, the 5 individuals that got gold medals this past week. And to build off our honorees in Conference USA, softball had 2 players get added to the all CUSA team. Sophomore Ansley Blevins, first team Conference USA, had the most home runs in conference play with 10. So big congratulations to her. Hope to have her return. We've seen years past our best players kind of head on to the transfer portal, and it's a weird game that we play now, in all sports. So Ansley, really good year for her as a sophomore. Hope to have her return. And then Shelby Eccles, I don't think didn't see this one coming. Her placing on the first team Conference USA board as well. She's kind of a great all-around great hitter. I know she was top 5 in hits in Conference USA, so not too surprised on her placing, but she will certainly be missed, and her contributions to the Lady Raiders season. Men's golf, Owen Stamper right now, he is in the individuals West Lafayette Regional, so we're still keeping an eye on him. He had an even finish through the first round. I know halfway through the second round on the turn there, he was somewhere tied for 60 seconds, so still some work to do, but keep an eye on Owen Stamper. Of course, those results will be put on all of our social medias. Tennis and individuals, those doubles won't begin until next Monday on the 20th. You got Ray Queen in the individuals, and then Ray Queen and Horak both competing in the doubles. That, again, will also begin next week. So keep your eyes peeled for those. And, of course, the next episode will have your results covered for you. And then the last bit of news, Missouri State, they get added to the conference beginning in the 2025 season. So this year, those that may have forgotten, got Kennesaw State that's going to be joining us in football and all sports for that matter. And then next year, you're going to have Delaware and Missouri State. So really exciting news. I think Missouri State, I don't know really where most people feel on this. For me, I'm pretty excited. I think from football, it's a pretty mediocre addition. I know that Bobby Petrino was there the year before last for a couple seasons, and they became relevant under Petrino, and for a multitude of reasons outside of probably their own control, just having Petrino as your head coach. But Missouri State is a quality add in regards to basketball. I think men's basketball side especially, they're going to be a quality add. I think the conference just got a little bit better. And then on the women's side, I think it's an excellent addition with Missouri State. I think, again, women's basketball kind of gets, especially at the mid-major level, those that don't follow it very closely. Missouri State probably doesn't catch your radar, but I will try to re-jog your memory that the Missouri State back in 2021 made the Sweet 16, and they were actually a top 25 team going out of the season at the final AP poll. So that Missouri State team, granted, that was 3 years ago. That's nothing to bat an eye at, because the last 4 years collectively, they've been in the top 110 in net rating. So that puts them, if you just put them across the board in all Conference USA in all those years, that would put Missouri State as the number 2 team in the conference. So that's a really good quality add for the Lady Raiders, especially when you're talking about boosting those net ratings and getting quality wins and quality road wins. Missouri State is a team that is always been able to field a really talented team. So really exciting news on the Lady Raiders front, again, just from the perspective of having a tougher conference schedule, because most part, the conference tends to kind of, it doesn't help their case. Now, granted, they beat them by 20 plus, but having a good quality opponent like Missouri State can definitely boost all those behind the scene ratings that'll help the Lady Raiders as far as seeding goes into the NCAA tournament. So, Missouri State added 2025 along with Delaware. The conference continues to grow. I know that there's been reports of them adding more teams. Who knows where they're going to necessarily grab them from? I've heard reports of someone like Tarleton State, Central Arkansas. They're trying to find a way to have some more continuity in regards to geography. So who knows what they're necessarily going to do as far as picking anyone up. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pick up another team for that 2025 season to join Delaware and Missouri State. But who knows? Still good stuff. And again, hopefully it's always quality ads to help benefit all sports across. So That pretty much wraps up our spring sports and puts a good little bow on what happened this last week in Blue Raider athletics. Again, the content's going to slow down. We're going to release my next episode on the 28th of May on a Tuesday. So the Tuesday release schedule will stay the same. Just have your patience with me. It's summer vacation for myself, and I'm sure it is for many of you. So but keep your eyes peeled for those interviews with some of your favorite players, your favorite coaches. Of course, as always, go to the forums will be up. I plan to have the opportunity for those that want to answer some questions. That's always great information. I think it's valuable to you guys if you have questions for the players. I think that's something that I want to provide a little bit differently than what you may have seen from previous interviews with players and stuff like that. I'd love to get your feedback. Love to hear what you guys have for these kids. And of course, they're always happy to answer those questions too. So. Final plug for the podcast. You got all of our socials. You got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Blue Raider Pod. Of course, our visual presentation is over on youtube.com under Blue Raider Podcast. I always forget those that are on YouTube. We are also on your streaming services, on all your favorite ones. You got iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff as well. So if you want to switch over to just the regular old streaming, you got your bases covered there too. Other thing, BlueRaiderPodcast.com. It's a new website I've put together. It's nice, clean. I've got a lot of great feedback on it. One thing to help support the show, again, kind of a soft opening. I plan to do a little bit more marketing for it as we move through the summer, but I've got apparel there. Feel free. I appreciate your support. If you can do anything to help the podcast, to keep this thing going, I would always appreciate your help by buying apparel over on our website at BlueRaiderPodcast.com. Of course, I will have, as I've spoken about in the past, I plan to do some NIL partnership with some players. So I'm always happy to field whatever I can in regards to the players. I think I want to give back. I don't necessarily do this, obviously, for those that don't know, I don't do this for profit. I do this for fun. It's a passion thing for me. I love MTSU athletics. I want to be a voice for the fans, get you in touch with a lot of the people that we all want to listen to. We want to hear about. We want to hear a lot of the behind the scenes, get some unbiased opinions that are outside the university. So I think there's a lot. It's a lot of things that I could still cover and dive deeper. So your support is much needed, as well as supporting these athletes that'll come on here. And again, as we try to blossom into some NIL partnerships with some of these kids as well. So that should wrap us up for the episode today. It's a short one. I appreciate everyone sticking on by through it. Don't forget, again, keep those eyes peeled. 2 weeks away, summer schedule every 2 weeks. I'll have a schedule for you in regards to the players that are coming through for the interviews, and I'll have all that on social media. So again, keep your eyes peeled. Don't forget to join that conversation over at gomiddle.com. And until next time, go Blue.